long. I apologize, but I have so much to talk about on this thing. My paper would have probably been longer. I had pinpointed a couple of things in my book, and this one really caught my attention. I put on page 86, which was like the last paragraph and a half of this chapter, and I wrote in here the American dream. White or color was the meaning. Towards the end of this chapter, he actually shared how his dad, of course, was an alcoholic, and eventually his dad went to hospital, had a stroke or something. Let me look on here. I forget, but he went to the hospital. He ended up in a coma. And it was weird how he said that his dad, who was a white man, technically a white man, was not reaching the American dream and felt low of himself. Therefore, he wanted to just drink himself into oblivion, into death. He didn't care. Took pills, tried to commit suicide, felt stupid, called somebody, he ended up going to the hospital, and he survived. And it broke my heart. On here it says, "It strikes me that unless we get a hold of this, unless we begin to address the way that privilege can set up those who have it for a fall, can vest them with an unrealistic set of expectations, we'll be creating more addicts, more people who turn to self-injury, suicide, eating disorders, or other forms of self-negation, all because they failed to live up to some idealized type that they had been told was theirs to achieve." That's the American dream. We tell so many people that come to this country, and we tell white people they have this American dream and they can achieve it with the color of their skin. But what this is saying is that the color of the skin don't mean anything. And it's even worse for you if you don't achieve what you're supposed to because you're white. And what he said is that his dad felt like a failure because of his skin. He should have had this American dream and he did not obtain it. So he felt like a loser. And it's crazy that I think about this is because I'm in recovery and I go to meetings all the time. And I remember always looking around the room, and it didn't dawn on me till I read this on how many white people there are in there. You know, but something I always thought going to meetings is that you won't find a lot of blacks. You won't even find a lot of browns, Asians in there. But you find a lot of white people. And then it made me wonder how many of those people felt the same way as Tim's dad. The next page that I wanted to talk to, and I hope this is the last thing because I think I'm going a little too long. I apologize. It just means that privilege sometimes costs us the clarity of vision needed to see what we're doing, and how even in our resistance we sometimes play the collaborator. This was crazy because this was right after he was asked from that girl, the college student, "What are you doing? You're worried about everything going on overseas, but you're not worried about everything happening here." I think there was even a part where he couldn't get into his girlfriend's car. The cop helped him, not only helped him, but even wanted to break the window and be like, "Oh, this is so cool, blah, blah, blah." Which we all know if he wasn't white, that wouldn't have happened. The guy would have probably gone to jail if he was black. So even though it had a boatload of politics talk, and even though sometimes I would read it and I'd go, "Man, okay, stop tooting your own horn, dude." Every time he would come to a point and he would give you the reason why he talked about that. I'm very appreciative of this book. And I'm very glad that I chose to take this class, because I chose to look at a whole lot of stuff that even though in my head I knew the reality, I chose not to talk about. So thank you for having us read this book and making this our final exam. It has definitely been an honor.